Hi, welcome back to the channel. I'm Michelle, and today I'm going to be doing my mid-year homeschool update for my 8-year-old. Now, she's always kind of been between grade levels, so she's doing second grade in some areas, third grade in some areas, so I'll talk about that. But everything has gone really great for the last 5 months. The schedule I posted at the beginning of the year is the same schedule we still follow. The curriculum I talked about that we'd be using for this year is the same curriculum we're using. That's why I don't make monthly update videos, because there's really not a lot to update. Sometimes when I make adjustments, I'll do an update video. But really what I choose is what we use, and we stick to the schedule that I make in the beginning of the year. Sometimes there's minor adjustments, like I said, but pretty much everything goes really well. So that's why I only do, beginning of the year, mid-year updates, and then end of the year updates. So like I said, her schedule has not changed. The only thing that really changes is our social justice, or if we're doing a specific unit study because of the time of year it is, but everything else has remained completely the same. So let's start going through it. Math, she's on Dimensions 2B. She's 3/4 of the way through it, and what's nice is we've reached the point where I have all the teacher guides from 2 on up because of my oldest going through all those levels. So now I only have to buy the textbook, workbook, and test booklets. Those are all going well. Math has always come pretty easily to her, and even when she's doing the test in the test workbook, she's getting almost 100% every time. And she's gotten to the point where she can now read a lot of the questions, which is really good because her reading has improved in the last 5 months. And although I will say it probably takes her twice as long to do her math test, specifically with like word problems, because I used to read those to her. Now she's trying to read them to herself, which is great, but it does take her a bit longer to do those math tests now. But that's an improvement in her reading I'm really happy to see. So she's doing this, and we'll continue to do that. We'll move on to 3. It's always been great for her, especially a kid that's more naturally takes to math. It's been really good for her. We have started multiplication facts that stick. And one thing I will say, again, things come pretty easily to her. The idea of multiplication, she does a lot of mental math. It's going really, really quick. I remember doing this with my oldest, and it was a lot slower pace. So it's just different. It's interesting seeing the difference between kids when you've done curriculum with a kid prior. The difference is that one thing I will say we did adjust for that is because they have practice sheets every day for math, she really disliked the layout of these. And I think this happens to be her ADHD coming in, that when she looks at a paper like this, she can do the math completely fine, but she finds the layout overwhelming. I'm not sure what particular, maybe because it looks like a lot of problems on the page. So I just made a quick adjustment, and I had these from my oldest child, and these are just little strips of paper, and she'll fill out that. She much prefers this layout over this layout. I'm not sure why, but she finds this less overwhelming. So we do that instead. That's the only difference we made, but we are on, like I said, multiplication facts of 6. And again, because math comes pretty quick to her, it's not a struggle for her to do this and multiplication facts that stick on a daily basis. And even my oldest, who math has been more of a challenge for her, she did both at the same time too. It's not like it takes a super long time, but that's been going well. So I do have Math Mammoth review in here, and the only adjustments we made for this is that it's become optional if she has free time. Like if she's waiting for me to move on to something and she needs something to do, she'll pull out these math sheets because she does like the puzzles and the different activities, and I do think it's good retrieval practice. But again, this is not a child that necessarily needs constant, so it's not on a daily basis that I think she needs to be doing this, because concepts come pretty quickly to her. But she does enjoy it, so she does bring it out when she's waiting for me for something. So next would be handwriting. She's continuing to work with handwriting without tears. She's using printing power. Again, daily, something she does independently. One thing I always include is we have this little thing, and it just came from an old workbook. I always have this out when she's doing her writing because she has issues with number and letter reversal. in the past, and having a visual reminder for her has been really helpful. She has worked through dyslexia workbooks and things like that, which have helped as well, but I do think having a visual reminder for her when she's doing her work that this is the correct way a letter or a number is formed. Next would be all about reading 3. She is 3/4 of the way through this. She's almost done. And then we'll move on to level 4, and that's it. That's crazy to think. And she's my first child that will have gone through all the levels. My oldest only did level 1, like 3/4 of the way, maybe halfway through level 1 before she was fluently reading. And then she went to public school, so I did not continue. So she's my first one to go through all of it. And she's reached that point where she's fluently reading. She's picking up books for fun. Reading's become a lot easier for her. So when you kind of cross that threshold, it's a wonderful moment in homeschooling, because obviously, like I said, in her math, she can do a lot of things. She can read to herself now. And just to see that transition from a child that struggled early on with reading and concepts to then move over that, to get over that obstacle and be able to read freely and for fun, has been really good. I did make a video of kind of what helped her make that transition, which I'll link up above. Check it out if you'd like to see. But it's been going really well, and it's nice to work through all about reading it, not be a struggle, but something that's enjoyable at this point. So she's been doing really well with that. She has finished first language lessons. She finished the entire book. And I was amazed with, especially since she has ADHD and working memory in certain areas can be difficult for her. For example, letter sounds and blends. It is just a struggle for her to remember that, and that's one of the issues she had with reading. But there's various poems throughout here. She could remember the poems after hearing them once. And I think that's really interesting about ADHD brains, about how they can remember such intricate details of certain areas, but the others are, flying around in their head somewhere, and who knows where they are. It's really interesting to see, because especially in the end where you go through like review, we were talking about poems she hasn't done in months that she could verbatim repeat, and it's really cool to see kind of what the brain's capable of. One thing I will say is we did make an adjustment, because I did not like the definitions for parts of speech in here, so noun, verb, pronoun. I think it was a bit confusing, and I think it does give you a lot of surface level information and introduction to things, but it's not really going in depth and helping you make those connections. And especially with how her brain works, if she has more areas to connect it to or previous information she's learned, it's easier for her to recall the information. So although yes, she could probably give me the definition of a noun offhand, but does that really mean she understands what that is? Not necessarily. So I did bring in Michael Klay Thompson. Again, I had this from my oldest, and it's the first, or well, I guess Poodle would be the first level. This is the level after that. And I started just by pulling out the definitions and explanations of what's a noun, what's a verb, what's an adverb, that kind of thing, those kind of things to kind of supplement that, because I don't think it was deep enough, especially for this child. So she has finished that, and my plan now is to go fully into Michael Klay Thompson, because again, I think it goes a lot deeper, and it shows you those connections of words, especially in a sentence, especially since we're going to be getting into writing in the future, that I think if you understand how the parts of speech interact with each other and have a thorough understanding and practice. I don't think there was enough practice in here. I like that the lessons were quick and easy, but I think she needs more practice on, picking out nouns, picking out verbs, that types of thing, which I know Michael Klay Thompson does really well from my experience with my oldest. So that's my plan with that, but I think it served its purpose. It was a good introduction, and it made me kind of see where she was and how she was able to verbalize the information she knew. So I do think it was useful, but we will not continue with first language lessons after this. Next would be core knowledge. So again, core knowledge completely free online. We do the listening and learning strands, and she does 3rd grade. She's done core knowledge, language arts the last few years. We do not do the skills section, and that's solely based on we use all about reading for the skills area, so I don't feel the need to combine both. There is some writing components in here, and I've gotten to the point where it's above where she is writing wise. It does have like a nice introduction to writing and things like that, but she's not there yet. So if there's a writing component to her activity or her lesson, I will have her orally do it, or I will dictate. She will tell me and I will write it down for her, because she's quite not ready for core knowledge language arts writing yet. but we'll just adjust the activity to meet her skill level at that point. But this is what we've covered so far this year. We've covered The Wind in the Willows, which I was surprised how intricate the language is for that. And it's a condensed version, it's not the original. But the language in there is, I don't remember it being that complicated, but I do think it's important vocabulary-wise because that's included in core knowledge as well. Exposure to this kind of stuff, and it does have the definitions. Again, a lot of people, I think, look at the core knowledge readers because there's readers and there's teacher guides. Readers are kind of like the books that go with it. And the teacher guide is where you're going to find all the meat, the information, how to implement it, the resources, the online resources really big. Any supplementary activities, things like that, is all in your teacher guide. I know they're super long, but they're super long for a reason because they have a lot of resources in them. So don't judge core knowledge just based on the readers. Check out the teacher guides. Take the time to really sift through it. You'll find a lot of information and resources you can use in those. So she did enjoy The Wind in the Willows, and when we were reading it, we also had we have the physical copy of the book because my oldest will be doing that later in the year. So we would compare the stories after that. We've done classification of animals, so taxonomy, that kind of stuff. The human body, which we've gone through the human body every year now, so it's building upon that information. We did ancient Rome civilization, which she really enjoyed. She really likes Rome, so if you're unfamiliar, she has celiac disease, so she has to have a completely gluten-free diet. And there's actually a lot of gluten-free options in Italy, and you wouldn't think that given then bread and pasta, but they understand cross-contamination, they understand some medical conditions, so they make accommodations for it. So if you actually want good, like really good gluten-free food, Italy. So she wants to go there someday, and she's really enjoyed learning about Rome and Italy and all those places. So she really enjoyed learning about ancient Rome, and it's funny, even in we had a Christmas play at our church this year. The kids got to pick out their parts, and she chose to be Caesar Augustus, which, because she made the connection in history that we're learning about, and then, we're talking about the nativity story and all that. It was cool to see her make that connection, and she even insisted on wardrobe adjustments because the crown that they would wear would be covered in leaves and things to honor Caesar. So it's just watching my 8-year-old give this explanation to the Sunday school teachers why her crown needed to be altered was pretty funny. We've done light and sound, so that was really cool, looking at like concave, convex, things like that. We are currently on the Viking Age, and we're learning about that. And I do like the core knowledges send a lot of this information in story form. So you're getting, what the Vikings' life were like, but through the eyes of a child. A lot of the storytelling is through that. Same with ancient Rome. You kind of went through the daily life of a kid in ancient Rome, but I do find it, has factual information in it, which is really important. So some of the things I did want to highlight are some of the activities. So this was ancient Rome. So you're doing geography, you're looking at ancient Rome, looking at a map. This was in a domain review. And this was also ancient Rome. So they have cut and paste activities, which she really likes. So you fill out the information and you paste it in. This was human body. So you're looking at diagramming eyeballs. Ancient Rome civilization chart. So as you're reading through the story, you fill this information, the jobs, the government, the leaders, the religion. And again, I'll ask the questions and I will write some of the information for her. Obviously things like this where it's not a lot of writing, I think she's fully capable of, but this is a lot of information. So I do write that for her. And this is an example of light and sound. So she had to show images of convex and concave. So I do think, like I said, that core knowledge offers a lot of different activities, different resources, different books you can read. So definitely look into that. Next, the only other thing she was doing that her siblings don't do is Spanish. We're working through Song School Spanish, and this is going well. We have changed to a lesson. We usually do one lesson over 2 weeks. That way, because the vocabulary lists have gotten longer. So you can see the lists have gotten longer, and she does make her flashcards every time we do it. So I've split it. The first week we'll do half the flashcards and practice those and do the writing pages. The second week, we'll do the second half of the flashcards that she writes, and then we will do the activity that's usually in the teacher guides, because there's supplemental activities you can do in that. Some of them are, the first part is just kind of working with the words and kind of that information, and then the teacher guide is more of a game or an activity to work your way through it. So for example, the last one we did, we used different little people, what were they called? Shopkins, and she would put them in the house. And it's kind of like Battleship. You have to find where it is. So are they in El Baño? So are they in the bathroom? And then if you get it, you get the person. So different fun activities. She really enjoys that. And she's doing really good with her flashcards. These are the ones she's currently working with. And she will she'll practice these when she does her reading at night. I forgot to mention that when I was talking about her reading, she has set the goal for a long time now to read every night, and that's kind of how she winds down at night. Is she reads she's got a stack of books by her bed. She reads her books. One of the things she's got in the habit of doing as well is reviewing her Spanish cards, because she finds, much like reading, if it's something she does often, that it is fresher in her brain and it comes more easily to her. We do try to incorporate it throughout the day using Spanish words. She, of course, joins us in our group subjects as well. So Monday through Thursday, we do United States history using core knowledge. And I'll make a separate video on group subjects to go over how those are going. And Tuesday, we do art. Wednesday, we do social justice unit, or if it's a specific time of year, like November, we do Native American Heritage Studies. December, we do some type of unit study during the holidays. Thursday and Friday, we do science. Again, we're using core knowledge science, 5th grade for that. But she's included in all those as well. But that is all her kind of academics. Extracurricular-wise, she is doing gymnastics. She's been doing gymnastics for a while now, and she really enjoys it. It's something she does for fun. It's not like she's super competitive in it or anything. She really enjoys it, and she'll continue to do that. But that is how the last 5 months have been going. So again, everything's going really well. And like I said, I'm very intentional with what I choose for my kids curriculum-wise. You know, I don't just buy the next shiny new thing. I really think about what would work for this individual child in front of me. Our schedules are really important to her, especially having the visual schedule, knowing what comes next with her ADHD brain, the consistency, because let's face it, what gets homeschooling done is doing it every day, and having that consistency is really important, especially for her. And she'll go and check this off when she's done to see, okay, what do I have left to do? So it's gone really well, but that's because I put a lot of intentional effort in before we start homeschooling and when we're homeschooling. It's not some magical formula, it's a lot of work on my part that I do put in that I think it's important to talk about. Getting up every day and doing your homeschooling consistently and following the things you plan to do. That's what makes this such great, and how we had such a great 5 months. There's no secret to it. So if you have any specific questions, let me know. If not, thank you for watching.